Hello, and welcome to the BMC Quick Course Series. My name is Warren Hawkins, and I'm a software consultant for the BMC DB2 products. In this demonstration, I'll show you the interface connection or integration between SQL Performance and MainView for DB2. Let's get started. Since the purpose of this demonstration is to highlight the interface between SQL Performance and MainView for DB2, let's begin by looking at the DB2 Easy menu. We're going to be focusing on thread activity and in particular all of the current threads. In order to do that, we place our cursor on the line marked Current Threads and hit Enter. This takes us to our Active Thread report. This report shows us all of the active threads that are executing in the DB2 subsystems that we are monitoring with MainView for DB2. Also of note is the line marked Active Threads. You will see a plus sign stated there. That plus sign will act as an expand or contraction or toggle switch, say, that will expand the header information or contract it. Let's see. Let's place our cursor on that line on the plus sign and hit Enter. Voila! Here is the header information expanded. And as I mentioned earlier, the plus sign has now changed to a minus, and if you place your cursor there and hit Enter, the header information will toggle off. I've taken a moment here to highlight the plan and the package hyperlinks. Why? Because these are the hyperlinks of interest that will take us into the SQL Performance product. Here, particularly the plan and the package hyperlink are of great importance. We are now going to go into problem simulation mode or scenario mode, and let's look for a particular correlation ID. And I know one of my good friends is executing, and I know his correlation ID is MKT CWR. I don't see it on this panel, but I believe it's here. So I'm going to hit PF8, page me down, and continue looking. And voila, PF8, I see that his correlation ID was on page 2. MKT CWR is there. I now want to hyperlink into the SQL Performance product and analyze the plan that he's executing. In order to do that, I place my cursor on his plan name and hit Enter. This should be familiar for all SQL Performance or Aptune users. This is our SQL Workload Analysis Bridge or our analysis interface that gives us the options to choose whether we want to begin workload analysis, whether or not we want to look at application profiles, or whether we want to look at things in a particular time interval. So all these three options are available for you from the SQL Performance product. So this is the same screen that you will see if you invoked the SQL Performance. Here, let's analyze our workload. So we're going to choose option 1 and hit Enter. This brings us to the SQL Performance Plan Analysis report. And on this, of course, this is identical. This is the same screen that SQL Performance uses again. And you will notice that we have now focused in on the plan of interest, DSN, ES, PCS. Now, let's take a time to analyze this further, which is what we would normally do. Let's look at the statements that are in our particular question. Because we noticed here, one thing I must say is, we noticed that 100% of the SQL time here, this particular plan is using a lot of resources. And so we need to now focus down. This brings us to our SQL analysis screen, and we notice that the insert type statement is using 70% of the time. So let's look at the SQL text associated with our insert. In order to do that, let's put an S there and hit it. Voila, this brings us to our SQL statement text screen. We can now go in and look at all the metrics that are associated with this or the actions that are associated with this text screen. We can look at details, the errors, the header, the objects, and so on. I would like to explain this particular statement, but all of the statement is not there. So in order for me to see that, I simply hit PF8. By hitting PF8, I go down and I see the entire SQL statement text. Now for me to explain it, I will simply put an X on the line, insert. Here's my X, enter. Now this brings me to the explain result. This is a very, very powerful, this is a common routine that all of the BMC, SQL, and system monitoring tools use in the DB2 arena. Here I chose the rules option, which is an R. You have three different types of rules, of course, I must say. You have RS, which is severe, RW, which are my warnings, and RI, which are additional rules. Of course, all of the other actions are available to you as well, just like if you invoke this explain result from SQL Performance. Let's look and see what the R. Aha! The R expands out and lets us know right away what's important. One of the good things here is we don't have any severe warnings, rules violations, I should say, but we do have some warnings that need to be analyzed, and we do have some things. And bear in mind, the purpose of this demo, of course, is to simply let you know that the same path of problem determination, problem source identification, performance is available whether you come through the SQL Performance product or whether you come in through the MainView for DB2 product. To further expand this, we can even do what ifs. I've taken the liberty of typing in a W on line 1, and I'm going to hit the enter. This simply brings me to a TSO session where the SQL statement has been neatly formatted. We can now avail ourselves to implementing changes into this SQL statement to see if they will have any effects on the performance or the cost of this statement. Since the purpose of this demonstration is simply to show you the path, I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to hit PF3. That brings me back, PF3 brings me back to the explain results panel where my what if statement now has been added, and of course the costs and all are the same as the original, which is what we should expect and we did get. So now we simply PF3 out of this. That takes us back to the SQL text menu. How about that? And now as we continue to explore around, we can now choose another option, which is the O option, or action, I should say, that will now allow us to look at the objects that this particular program is using. Let's type in O and hit enter. This brings us to the SQL statement and object detail, which now gives us a listing of all of the objects that are being used in the program. Very, very nice. Now we can go into it looking at the ones that hit what buffer pool ratios, what get pages, so forth and so on, to further analyze our SQL performance problem from a different angle. I think that this kind of shows the power of being able to hyperlink from MainView for DB2 product into an SQL type monitor like SQL Performance, so that now you have the ability to go down to the statement and perform what if action. See if you can impact that statement from an SQL change, or you can look at the objects that statement to see if you can impact that performance by moving some of the objects to the buffer pool. Now, with a series of PF3s, that brings me back to the MainView for DB2 product, in particular the active threads menu or panel that if you remember, this was our launch point into the SQL Performance product. This is our return point back to MainView for DB2. This concludes my demonstration. I think we have shown the integration between SQL Performance and MainView for DB2. I'd like to thank you very, very much for your time today. For more information on any BMC mainframe products, please visit the URL shown